Hello, my name is Jesus Chavez, and through this presentation, I'm analyzing and offering recommendations for performance improvement at the International Maritime Center in Oakland. International Maritime Center is a place where they service seafarers, people that work on commercial ships. And thanks for watching. This is a brief peek at the table of contents of this presentation. The International Maritime Center, IMC, is an interfaith, interracial, ecumenical center. So basically what it is four different groups that get combined, and the four of them, as you can see the circles, is the Episcopalians, Lutherans, Presbyterians, and Catholics get together and they create the International Maritime Center. The focus of the analysis in this particular project is to see how we can improve operations, and we can see ways that we can be more effective and efficient at delivering their services, and how we can improve profits and services as well. The focus of the scope is to see a narrow, more a specific area that we can work, because there is a lot of different areas that probably need improvement. One of the ones that we saw, like a big one, is the fact that they get a lot of money for services provided to shipping companies, which is done through the seafarers. And that's how the IMC, International Maritime Center, builds these companies. So the diagnosis was to see the clarity and basically where it needs improvement. The symptoms that we found is there was communication absent of technology and the process. So here we have a couple of flowcharts, and the one at the top basically, kind of like explains how a ship arrives at the Port of Oakland, shuttle picks it up, and dispatcher calls IMC. If the seafarer, which is basically the people that are on the lower corner in the picture, is if they have a visa, they go out. If they don't have a visa, somebody from IMC go back and visits the ship. I give you a kind of general idea so you can see kind of how it works. At the bottom, it's a flowchart on how currently operations is in place, which is a phone call comes in, IMC, somebody from IMC receives the phone call. Either somebody goes to visit the ship, somebody had to direct the phone call, or it goes into a board. Either a minivan goes into the terminal and takes some of these people out of the port. So it's not very clear, it's not very coherent, but that's what we found. So as you see, we found that there was a process problem in collecting information and communicating on how to get all these seafarers, because sometimes through informally talking to the people, I found out that some people were doing repetitive tasks. So what I did is I did my analysis by doing surveys, questionnaires, and formal interviews. A big key to my analysis was the affinity diagram, which I'll discuss next. Here's a big key tool in my analysis. By doing this affinity diagram, through the process issues, I found out so many points related to a board, the board not being updated, the board being erased, the board not being clear. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even know there were so many issues with the board. So I found out that one of the main problems was this board. So what I did is I went and looked at the board and found out why was this a big ticket into the process problem. And the next slide will show you what I found. Well, here's a picture of the board. There's two different days. I took a couple pictures. There is some crucial information. Basically, it tells you date, the rate of the conversion rate, because then there's some money that is being wired every now and then. Then at the middle there is the names of all the commercial ships that are at the port, and then the problem with everybody is that the language that is being used, there is no standardized language, and there is not a process. Everybody writes whatever they think, and the person that's reading it doesn't understand what the message is conveying. The picture on the right, it says will call, and then at the bottom says my call. So whoever is trying to get uh, this message doesn't really know how to interpret the language utilized in this big process, because this is the big ticket on how these seafarers get service, and in turn the IMC bills the shipping company to get revenues. This is a sample questionnaire that I did on a survey for some of the volunteers at the International Maritime Center. So basically, I think I asked 9 questions, and there were 1 through 5 options for people to pick, and following is the results that I obtained. This is the results of the 9 questions that I asked volunteers, and basically it tells you it's okay, it's above average. I mean, it's the responses are good. One of the things that they didn't what they complain, I can see, is that they're not very satisfied with the training they get, and and that's that's reflected in the graph. I also conducted a survey for seafarers used to find out what they thought of the service. Uh, and this is just a sample of kind of like the questions that I asked. Now, I did a run chart to see the results of the survey for the seafarers. One of the things that I saw is that the information obtained here, is not real. It's some of those responses that I don't find it real, and the reason is like it, seafarers always complain. And that was the response or the feedback that I always got. And this particular survey, the data show me otherwise. Uh, One thing is perhaps is is the environment that these people wear, which is basically at the International Maritime Center, which everybody was relaxed, and these people needed to be taken back to the ship. So that's probably the reason they all gave good information. So this data shows very good data, uh, but it's not accurate. It's not accurate because the fact that I worked there and I've been in contact with these people, uh, if I were to take this data, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the real reflection of their opinions. Okay, my summary is that I by doing this analysis, I found out the shipping companies were a big source of money or funding to the International Maritime Center by servicing seafarers. And the affinity diagram helped us pinpoint a big important issue in the operations process of this whole operation. And the run chart shows how data could be irrelevant, and we have to be careful when we do certain analysis, and some data could be used if it's not being reflective as the real reality of how things are. Some people could offer wrong or irrelevant information. Well, my recommendation is based on the type of an entity, and it's not easy to implement changes. The Deming cycle, the Plan, Do, Study Act, was one of my suggestions to start doing some improvements. And these are my suggestions is to plan by assigning one person to receive all incoming calls, utilize technology, and input this data in a shared platform that everybody can see it. The do is to compare the service increase. If you do something, you can compare it from last week or last month. So there is a measuring device, and you can measure effectiveness and improvement. And you can study the results by getting feedback, because obviously seed fairs and the people working will tell you how the process performance is doing. And act by developing a solution and monitoring the process. You can see how things are working, and then focus on improving. So this is my suggested flowchart. Basically, is rather than having everybody picking up the phone when the phone rings, is have an assigned dispatcher. So you can see that the IMC call comes in, and it comes into the blue square. The gate from the port calls, the dispatcher gets the call, goes back and forth. Either somebody at the bottom requests a ship visit, the information goes back and forth. If somebody wants to go outside of the port, up to the right, the service is provided, and all the information goes back to that person. One person that handles with technology all this information in a shared platform that everybody can see it. And the information will pinpoint, will tell the date, the time, and who entered it. That way, things will be more efficient. Not only efficient, but will be in real time. And the picture that I have is basically everything can be monitored or done from a desk with a telephone and a computer. My final observation is, by implementing the techniques learned and suggested here, we can improve the process of getting more money and building much more efficiently. Also, I found out that data could be misleading by that information gathered from seafarers, and the implementation of a demand cycle could improve efficiency and increase profits by building more accurately the shipping companies, and that way get more funding.